I do not care that it's just preseason. We're going 18-0 and winning the Grey Cup. Let's go. Red Blacks win. They beat the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
What is up, everybody? It is your local Ottawa fan, and I'm here to talk to you today about, I want to say, the CFL preseason game against the Hamilton Tiger Cats, which went down as, I believe it was a 33-22 victory? 21? I can't remember the score off the top of my head. I should look these things up. But that's not really what I'm here to talk to you about. At the end of the day, it's a preseason game, and there's only so much you can take about it. Now, Red Blacks do win. We beat the Hamilton Tiger Cats. It's always nice. A win is a win. I don't care that it's preseason. We're going to celebrate. Like, we did it. We beat them. Hurrah, hooray. But I want to talk to you more about predictions. Predictions for what I think we could expect in this upcoming season for the Ottawa Red Blacks. So first off, I want to say that I think our quarterback situation is going to be a lot better. First off, Drew Brown, I'm really excited to have him on the team. I'm not going to really talk as much about his performance in the game today. I think he did well. I wasn't able to watch all of the games, sadly, but I heard he did well, and from what I saw, he did good. I want to talk about Dustin Crum. That's what I want to talk about, because I liked him in the preseason game a lot. I thought he showed a lot of composure. I thought he looked really good. I know he put up some decent points as well, and he looked good. He looked composed. I felt like he didn't have enough support in the regular season last year, and I always felt like we were seeing flashes of brilliance. We could see what he could be. We were seeing somebody who was capable. Genuinely, I think Crum could be a starting quarterback in this league. I definitely think he could be a backup for sure. Everybody talks about the Crum back, and also the game after that. You got to remember, he did win back-to-back games, both of which were in overtime. He had to put the team on his shoulders, and as I'll get into in my next video, he had a lot of games that almost turned out our way, and it wasn't always his fault. There were a lot of games where he did everything he could. So I'm happy to see that. Obviously, we still have Jeremiah Masoli. I hope he gets healthy, and I hope he plays meaningful minutes, meaningful games, meaningful playoff games. But we cannot rush that. You got to make sure he's 1,000%. And even then, you got to be careful, because we saw last season, he shows up and immediately goes down. And part of you wonders, we did have a quarterback go down. The backup Adams went down, and we had Mazzoli come out the next game. And there was a part of you that was like, I hope he's not coming back because we need a quarterback. I don't think that was the case, but I kind of want the week that he's ready to go back, wait. Just wait a week. Just wait one extra week to really make sure, to get him, after the doctor clears him, after he's been cleared everywhere, just take a little bit more time. Because I trust Drew and Crum to get us through the start of the season. I actually trust that tandem of Drew Brown and Dustin Crum to get us through the entire season if we need to. I think that they would have enough to potentially, I think those two quarterbacks alone could make us a playoff team. And I think that is what we need to be asking for this season. We have missed the playoffs. We've missed the postseason for 4 straight seasons in 5 years. Now, not going to count 2020, COVID-19. We couldn't have made the playoffs. Maybe we would have won the Grey Cup that year. Who knows? There was no playoffs to be had. But since 2018, the last time we made the playoffs, the last time we made the Grey Cup, we missed the playoffs. Season didn't happen. Missed the playoffs. Missed the playoffs. Missed the playoffs. In a league where 2/3 of the teams make it, that is a statistical anomaly. It is in a vacuum, in just a vacuum of statistics. It is more likely that you accidentally make the playoffs than it is you so consistently miss the playoffs. Like, it's just more likely that 3 other teams just happen to be worse than you. Sorry, you won. You accidentally made it, and you can get eviscerated in the Eastern or Western semifinal. Because right now, as a Red Blacks fan, I'm okay with that. I will be happy with getting absolutely manhandled by some team that's better than us in the Eastern or Western semifinal. Obviously, I want to win the Grey Cup. And if I was somebody who was going to place sports bets, I've never placed a bet on sports bets, at least not with money. Maybe with integrity and dignity between friends, but nothing like, actual money on like any of the many sports gambling sites. I'm somebody who does not believe in betting against your own team, even if you think they're going to lose. We could be facing a team that is 18-0 in the Grey Cup, and I would still put money on the Red Blacks, even if we limp into the Grey Cup with a losing record. I'd still say, nope, you gotta rep the team. But the part of me that is rational says we probably aren't going to win the Grey Cup this year. But that's the beauty of the playoffs. And as I'm sure some of you have seen, I'm also a 49ers fan. I also cheer for the San Francisco 49ers. I know they aren't from Ottawa, but that's the other team that I cheer for. And I can tell you, as a team that just made it to the Super Bowl and suffered heartbreak like I've never known in sports. I mean, genuinely the worst sports day of my life. In terms of sports things that have happened, the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, second one, is the worst. It's worse than 2017 against the Penguins. I'm serious, because at least we lost in overtime of the semifinals, not had a lead in overtime of the championship. That is a pain that oof. That's rough. It hurts. But the beauty of the playoffs is all you need to do is get in. There was a time when Green Bay looked like they were going to beat us. Everyone wrote them off in the first round. They said, Dallas is going to kill them. And they beat the Cowboys, because obviously. And they almost beat us. They put up a really good fight for a team that was supposed to get destroyed by us. So who knows? Who knows? If Montreal last year proved anything, all you need is a ticket. Everyone said Toronto's going to destroy them. It's not going to be close. Toronto's going to absolutely mollywop Montreal. And Montreal beat them. And they made the Grey Cup. Where everybody said, so Winnipeg's going to destroy them. And Winnipeg's going to easily win the Grey Cup. 3 Grey Cups in 4 years. And all 4 years they made the finals. And what did Montreal do? They shocked the Canadian football world. And they won the Grey Cup. And if you're a Red Blacks fan, you can remember back in 2016. Right there, 2016. Everyone said Calgary was going to beat us. That we didn't stand a chance. That we were fraudulent for even being in the Grey Cup. That, you won the East. The East was weak, 8-9-1. And I ask you this. Who raised the banner in 2016? Because it sure wasn't Calgary. That's the beauty of the playoffs. All you need is to get in. And it allows you to hope. It gives you the opportunity to hope. And even if we are facing a team that is better than us, in the we could be a crossover team facing a really strong team in the West, in the Western semis. A team that has a really good record. And we could be a team with a losing record that just barely made it. But we can hope. We can say, what? We could do it. We could beat Winnipeg or Saskatchewan or BC. Yeah, we could do it. And we could do it. And then we could face a team that's even better than them. We could do it. We could do it. And maybe we do it. That's the beauty of the playoffs. And that's why missing the playoffs is just the worst. You can't even hope. All you can hope for is next year. And even then, if you make the playoffs, that hope for next year is way better. If you won the championship, your hope is, we're the defending champs. We can do it again. We just did it. And if you made it all the way to the Grey Cup, well, you can hope that we got really close. All we need to do is just win one more game. If you made it to the conference finals or the division finals, we were one game away from the Grey Cup. We can do it. We can take that extra step. And if you even just made the playoffs and got destroyed in the first round, you can at least say we're making progress. We were in the playoffs. We can take a step forward. And if you miss the playoffs, you look at that mountain that you've got to climb. But I'll also say this. In 2014, we missed the playoffs. In 2015, we made the Grey Cup. In 2016, we won the Grey Cup. So, winning is not out of the cards. And I think that this year will be a better year for the Ottawa REDBLACKS. I think our quarterback situation is better. I think our offense in general is better. I think our O-line, it's revamped. I know that there are still the same issues in a lot of areas that we've had since last season, but we also added a lot of new offensive line talent, and I think that's good. Just to have that depth, just to have some more options, to try something different. Because I felt like everybody agreed that our offensive line was our weakest point, and it led to a lot of damage. I mean, 2 quarterbacks went down with injury, and it felt like the only reason Crum didn't go down with injury is because he's clearly made of steel. But he got sacked a lot. And you need an offensive line to protect him. But I think that between that, a new offensive coach, I think it could happen. And I'm not going to sit here and act like our defense is bad. I want none of that. There were a lot of games where our defense did all they could. So this is where I'm going to go over that. First game, 19 points allowed. We lost. You can't lose that. You can't lose that. If you hold your opponents to under 21 points in a CFL game, you need to win. You need to win. 21 points. We lost. We let 26. 7 points. It was a win where we allowed 7 points. I mean, that's about as good as a defense can get. Then 21 points is all we allowed. We lost. We allowed 28, but 3 of them were in overtime and we won the game. And then this was probably our worst game defensively, save for one other, but it was against a really good Toronto team. 41 points surrendered to Calgary, and we ended up winning that game. 26 points surrendered. That one wasn't our best, but again, still close. And then 16 and we lost. That's twice now we held the team to under 20 points in 2 games that we still lost. Actually, 3 games that we held the team to under 20 points. We won one of them and lost 2. Then we allowed 26, not the greatest. 44 against Toronto. 25 points surrendered, 30 points surrendered. And as the season went on, we started to fall off the rails. But if you look at the start of the season, it wasn't that bad. And I felt like as the season went on, our offense was on the field a lot less actually. And a lot of points were being scored towards the end of the game, which honestly, I can't, it's easy to blame the defense there. It's easy to say, we should have gotten the clutch stop. We should have gotten the clutch stop. But you can't blame them all the time. Sometimes you need the clutch score. Ultimately, our biggest flaw was that we weren't clutch. That there were a lot of close games that we lost. And I'm going to go into more depth after the next preseason game, just about, specifically REDBLACKS expectations going into next season. But like I said, this is more about predictions. So I'm now going to go to what I think is going to happen. First off, I think Calgary's going to miss the postseason. I really hope this happens. And I'm going to just go over my likability of each team. Toronto's at the bottom of my list right now. They normally are at the bottom. Obviously, with the Chad Kelly situation, that just makes it worse. But in general, I can't stand Toronto for the main reason of they are a very, historic team. I think more champions than any other franchise. And where are your fans? What fans? What fans? So some people are, Toronto should get an NFL team. Are you kidding me? They can't fill a CFL stadium. Oh, well, it's CFL. Get out of here. Get out of here if that's what you're... Any Torontonian who's going to say, oh, well, it's CFL, get out of here. That's why I hope you never get an NFL franchise. If you do, if Toronto ever gets an NFL franchise, you best bet every single time you host the 49ers, I will go down to your barn and I will be louder than any Toronto fan in the entire stadium. Get out of here with that. For this giant city, you should be able to fill a CFL stadium, especially when you're a good team. Last year, you had one of the best seasons ever. We're the defending champions, and we still got more fans than you fairly consistently, despite the fact that, like I said, 4 years without playoffs. How is that even possible? A team that hasn't made the playoffs 4 straight years shouldn't even be in the same realm of fan attendance as the defending champions. Are you kidding? Get at it. Get at it. Not a fan of the Argonauts. Don't like them. Do not like them. Hope nothing but bad things to them. Next is Calgary, though. Next is Calgary, who I really think misses the playoffs. Toronto, I don't know. Toronto, I think it depends on how their first 9 games go. I'm going to be honest, I really hope they miss the playoffs. In a perfect world for me, Toronto goes 0-18. They do not win a single game. I think they are going to win a game, but I hope they don't. The day they win the game will be a sad day. I hope they don't win a game all season. But I'm iffy on if they make the playoffs. I don't think Calgary makes it. And I'm happy about that. I think they've made the playoffs, every year since 2004? That's like voting age. Like, if your playoff streak is old enough to vote, it's time for you to miss the playoffs. I don't care what you have or have not done in that time frame. And by the way, you have gotten a ring, okay? You can zip it. You've won. You reached the pinnacle. I hope Calgary misses. Just on the basis of, Calgary doesn't have a leg to stand on. Oh, but Calgary, no, you don't. No, you don't. You've made the playoffs for like a million years. You do not need another playoff year. You cannot say to me, an Ottawa fan of Ottawa sports teams, that Calgary needs this. No, they do not. I don't care how the Flames are doing. Have you looked at the Sens recently? Have you looked at PWHL Ottawa recently? We need this. Calgary does not. I think just on us being a charity case alone, we should just revoke Calgary's right to make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I really hope they don't make the playoffs. I don't think Hamilton makes the playoffs either, but I have a soft spot for Hamilton. I know I should hate them, especially after last season, but they haven't won a championship this millennium. Every other team has. I was born in 99. And I was born in November of 99. So I'm kind of like a tracker of when they last won it all. And I'm pushing the quarter century mark this year. So yeah, that's pretty bad. There are 9 teams in this league. When the team that started in 2014 has won more recently than you, yeah, you know what? I can feel bad for them. I don't care how often they make the playoffs. I don't care how recently they made the Grey Cup. I feel bad for the Tiger Cat fans out there. It's been a while. It's been a while. You know how I said, if your streak is voting age, you need to miss the playoffs. If your drought is voting age, you're also a charity case. I wouldn't feel terrible if the Tiger Cats actually did go all the way and win it this year. I'd only feel terrible if they beat us, But I got a soft spot for you Tiger Cats fans. I mean, I feel for you. The other team that I think misses the playoffs is another team that I also feel bad for. It's Edmonton. I think we're going to beat Edmonton a bit. I think the big thing is that Edmonton might be as good as us this season, and I think they might lose out due to crossover, that we might just have the same record as them. And because we're the Eastern team and they're the Western team, we will make the playoffs. I'm actually hoping that Toronto does worse than us. I hope Toronto's the third team out of the playoffs. That's what I really hope. Because A, that would mean a home playoff game, likely against Edmonton. But B, like I said, I want nothing good to happen to Toronto. But I think Edmonton is the third team to miss. But I will say asterisk, Edmonton or Toronto, and I really want it to be Toronto. Again, Edmonton, I have a soft spot. Like, they're kind of going through it with us. We've both been suffering together. Their last championship was 15. Ours was 16. They beat us in 2015, but we beat them in 2016. Yes, it was in the Eastern semis, but still, like, we still beat them. And they were, despite being the away team, the better team that was considered the team that probably should have made the Grey Cup. And, well, we saw what happened against Calgary. They probably could have won the Grey Cup, and instead it was us. And I think their drought is only a year younger than ours. Like, they've also missed the playoffs for a few years. That's why I'm saying, Toronto and Calgary can miss the playoffs. It is okay. You don't need it this year. I mean, Toronto, in terms of playoffs, you guys are fine. I mean, you aren't fine in the playoffs. I know Toronto sports, but, like, you make it in every other league most of the time. I get that, I think the Raptors missed this year. But, like, come on. Blue Jays are constantly out in round one. NPWHL Toronto and the Toronto Maple Leafs. And if you think about it, technically, even though they got a bye last year, their first playoff game, they did lose. So, in that aspect, a lot of round one losses for Toronto teams. But in all honesty, like, they don't need it. They're spoiled. They won the Grey Cup 2 years ago. You're fine. You don't need it. I think Montreal's going to win the East this year. I don't want them to. Not just because I'm an Ottawa fan, but because I'm an Ottawa fan, I don't want Montreal to win. I was kind of happy when they won last year, just because I'm starting to get annoyed with Winnipeg fans being good all the time. They sucked forever, and then they got good for 4 years, and now all of a sudden they think they're like the hottest team on the block. But I'm okay if Montreal does well. I hope we beat them in the playoffs or don't face them in the playoffs. So that it doesn't increase my anger. BC, I like. And honestly, if Ottawa doesn't win it all, I hope it's BC. BC is a likable team. They're a good team. They're a Grey Cup contender. And I think they win the West this year. I think they finish in first, and I think they go to the Grey Cup this year. Winnipeg, like I said, they're starting to get a little insufferable. I'd even say getting a little more insufferable than Riders fans. Yeah, how dare I? But you know what? I also have a soft spot for Riders fans. First off, like, that's their team, a lot of the other teams in the CFL have an NHL team or a team in another league or other leagues. And so, Saskatchewan, they ride or die their CFL team, and I love it. And I get it. Because before the REDBLACKS came in, I had a big feeling of, all we have is the Sens. Especially if you want, like, a consistent run. Yes, we have the 67s, but every X amount of years, like, a player just gets too old. Whereas in the NHL, you could see somebody play their whole career here. And the same with the CFL. I get their contracts typically don't last as long, but, like, all I'm going to say is Lewis Ward better retire in Ottawa REDBLACK. He better not play for any team that is not the Ottawa REDBLACKS. There are some players that can really have that long-term impact by playing with the same team for such an extended period of time. And when they do leave, it would be to another team in the same league, and it's kind of heartbreaking. Every time Trevor Harris laces it up for another team, it hurts. It hurts. I'm like, I miss you. But my final predictions are BC in first in the West, Winnipeg in second, Saskatchewan in third. And the outside looking in is Edmonton and Calgary. And in the East, it's Montreal, then Ottawa. Yeah, I'm going there. And then Toronto, with Hamilton on the outside looking in. But I wanted to be clear, I think the Toronto and Edmonton, you can flip-flop. You can flip-flop that. I'm going to say that I do think Toronto's going to have a bad enough start that it tanks them and it lowers their position. I hope it does enough damage. And I think Edmonton, Toronto, and Ottawa are the three teams that are really going to be the tight race. I'm going to say that the semifinals, or I guess the division finals, will be Winnipeg, BC, and BC will win, and Montreal, Ottawa, and Montreal will lose. And then BC will obviously lose to Ottawa. That's right, we're going all the way and winning the Grey Cup. You heard it here first. But if you want my completely realistic, like, take the fan cap off, I could see BC winning against Montreal, but I could also see it against Ottawa. I think that'll be close. I'm going to stick to us making the Grey Cup because I like that one. I do think BC is going to win this year. I think my main predictions are this. BC wins the Grey Cup. Ottawa makes the playoffs. Hamilton and Calgary miss the playoffs. And either of Edmonton and Toronto miss. Those are my big predictions going into this upcoming season. And hope you're all ready for some CFL content on this channel. And as always, go Ottawa, go!